Hey everyone, it's Costas from Blue.rov. So today I wanted to talk about how to not blow up your drone. And to not blow up our drone, today we're going to be using an idea from physics called Ohm's Law. Now, I know that a lot of you makers who do a lot of electronics, building stuff, probably know a lot about this, but I still wanted the ROV to be a pretty introductory level kit. So let's take a look. Now, when I was prototyping this ROV, I realized I made a pretty big mistake. The power lines, the Y harness that plugs directly into the battery and connects it to the rest of the electronics. I thought that the power line was suspiciously thin, so let's see if let's see if I'm right about that. So I'm going to use this multimeter to try and figure out if these wires are indeed too thin. If they're too thin, you're going to get all those electrons forced into a tiny space, and you can kind of look at it as if they're not really going to fit. So I'm going to go ahead and test the resistance right between that positive battery lead all the way down that track to the positive lead on the motor driver, and that should give us a pretty good idea of what that wire's resistance is. Okay, positive to positive. Okay. Alright, so it looks like that nasty little wire is giving us a resistance of about 0.4, 0.3, let's say 0.4 ohms. Alright, let's do some physics. So, I said before we're going to be using Ohm's Law to not blow up our beloved drone. So, Ohm's Law is basically, I like to write it like this. V is your voltage drop across any object in a circuit. So V is equal to the resistance in that part of the circuit times the current running through that part of the circuit. All right. So here's the actual wire harness. And actually, let me wrap it up, just so it doesn't take up as much room. So here's the actual wire harness. And when we're talking about V, we're talking about the change in voltage, so the change in electric potential energy between here where it, right here, where it actually connects to the circuit boards, and here where it hooks up to the battery. And we're talking about the voltage drop between these 2 points. So that's going to be V. R is going to be the resistance we measured. So that means R is going to be 0.4 ohms. So next, let's figure out the current. One piece of hardware that's always going to be running in your ROV is the Raspberry Pi. That's the computer that controls the whole vehicle. Worst case scenario, that thing could, I think theoretically, I'm not actually sure if it's possible, but it could draw about 2 amps of current. Then we got the motors. So each one of those is a 3 amp motor. So worst case, each one's going to be drawing 3 amps of current through the wire. So the total draw, worst case scenario, from the motors is going to be 3 times 4 is 12 extra amps. And that gives us a total of 2 plus 12 equals 14 amps. So now I'm going to use Ohm's Law to try and figure out how much electric energy is going to be converted into heat as the electrons pass from the battery through this wire. V is going to be equal to, following Ohm's Law, it's going to be equal to the resistance, so 0.4 ohms, times the current, which is 14 amps. And that product is going to come out to be 5.6 volts. So to figure out how much energy is going to go into actually heating up this part of the circuit, we're going to look at the power. And that's going to be equal to the voltage, which we just found, times the current, which we also just found. And multiplying that bad boy out gets us 78.4 watts. That's a lot of power. Definitely enough to make those little wires glow red hot. We're definitely going to have to change out those wires for something a little bit lower gauge. So for the ROV kits that we're making available to sell, we're just using a really thick 12 gauge wire for all of our power lines. We would never sell you anything we didn't feel was 100% safe. Definitely nothing that would actually make your ROV explode. And that's why we prototype and test dive everything before we prepare to sell it. But I did think this would be a pretty fun and useful example of Ohm's Law. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.